So, man, how have you been? How has quarantine been? It's the whole world's kind of going crazy. So, how's it been like for you and the family throughout the entire pandemic?
Well, being actually home in Missouri, uh, it hasn't been that rough here. I didn't miss any time at work, and my wife, she didn't miss any time. So we've been pretty fortunate to keep working. But the only thing that's, I guess, that changed a little bit is the kids going to like daycare. That kind of changed for us. So, but luckily we have family that can keep up and watch with them. That like school got canceled for a couple of them, so it's been nice for us to be able to do that.
I'm up in Canada, so everything here is like the second they were like, oh, someone's got a case, they shut down everything, and we're still kind of all shut
Yeah,
down. How has training been throughout the entire thing?
training's been the same. One, like maybe a couple months, maybe it was a little slower, but mostly I've been able to keep rocking and been able to just keep everything rolling the same way. So we've been
So,
lucky.
yeah, so the MMA world's kind of was shut down there for a few months, which is part of the reason why I started this. It was just plainly out of like interest because I love MMA, so just kind of started it for that reason. But there was one thing that was circulating in the MMA world, and that was this idea of Fight Island. As someone who's been there and experienced it, man, what was it like, and did it live up to the hype?
I don't know how they could pull that off. It's amazing, and it's I can't explain it. Like when we got there, of course we had to test for COVID and then quarantine 24 hours, and then once that 24 is up, we had to test again and then quarantine another 24 hours, and then after our 48 hours, we finally got to go out and about. And how they pulled it off and how they could afford it is just I can't believe it. The hotel they stayed in, I mean, the service was top notch, 3 meals a day, and it wasn't just like lousy hotel food. These were like 5 course meals. It was super nice.
I One of the posts I saw was that you were ready. You're on Fight Island. You're ready to go. Obviously, you didn't get the chance to compete, but a lot of people, who were there, ended up speaking with Dana White or ended up speaking with someone else. Did you end up having time to chat with someone in the UFC organization?
I did not. The main thing I got to do was I got to meet a couple other fighters. Like Tanner Bozer, hung out with him a bunch and kicked it with him, and another kid on the card, that Mosfar, the Russian who fought Mike Grundy, had a super good fight. And just all the other, like the legends like Verdum and Shogun, and just cool being around them kind of guys. And it was awesome. I couldn't ask for a better experience than what I had there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you were there cornering a friend of yours, someone you've worked with, you spent a lot of time working with. Obviously, the fight didn't go his way. Um, did it hurt a little bit? You go all the way there, and the fight didn't go out. Does it almost feel like a loss for the entire team, even though it was him that was in there?
Um, it does sting. Yeah, the loss sucks, but that's the fight game, man. And he really went around the world for me for 45 seconds. So it is what it is, and I don't get upset about it as long as he left everything in there and prepared for it. That's all I can ask.
Yeah, the fight wasn't very very long, but as someone who was in the corner, what was it like experiencing the quiet arena? It must be weird hearing the corners, hearing the cornermen, hearing the commentators. It must be very very weird.
Honestly, it didn't really seem that different to me. I really didn't pay much attention and notice the crowd not being there. Heard the music walking out and the announcer while you're in there, and then I was just so focused on what was going to take place that I didn't really notice it. So I can say if I was fighting, it would have probably been the same way, if not even more focused on the situation. So personally, I didn't notice the no fans, and I don't think I would have fighting either. So
I'd like to kind of shift the focus here a little bit to your career. I mean, you've been kind of on the shelf now for a little over a year. You competed May 24th in 2019, so it's been over a year. My birthday, by the way, that's how I remembered it so easily. Uh, so, man, what's it been like kind of being on the sidelines? Like, obviously, I'm sure there's time for you to develop your game, but you must be a bit anxious to get back in there.
Yeah, I'm getting the itch, and I've had it for a good while. Just this COVID crap hit, and I've had 3 fights lined up, and always something happens, And the first two were due to COVID. This last one I was supposed to fight was at the
Two
17th of July,
2 weeks ago.
and unfortunately, the UFC, we were supposed to fly out Monday, and they ended up speeding it up and making us fly out the Thursday, which would have been the day of my weigh-in. So I really had to do some thinking about it, and I thought that if there was a chance that I could fight for the UFC and I didn't take it, I would have been super upset with myself. So I had to just, put that fight on the side for now and then go with that chance. And unfortunately, it didn't happen. So now hindsight's, 50-50. So
Yeah, so you spent majority of your career with LFA. What's your thought of LFA as an organization, as someone who's competed with them? It's really kind of become like a stepping stone to get in the UFC. It seems like majority of the fighters that are getting called up are coming from LFA. Was that part of the decision why you went there as well?
yeah, that's a huge part. Jake actually, before it was LFA, when they were RFA still, he won the world title with them. And like a week later, he got the call up. And then another guy that used to train with us a bit, Andrew Sanchez, he's also in the UFC. He went through RFA and same thing. It's so it was easy for me to see that, this is the route to go. And unfortunately, it's a little harder right now, like with fights wise. So I wouldn't fight anywhere else. They take care of me. They really promote me and they help me with anything I need. And just a super great group of guys that, run the show there. And I've got to know them all really well. And I know my time's going to come, sooner or later. So as long as I stay with them, keep grinding, I look at it like, I've had 5 fights with them and I've only had 8 pro fights and 5 of them have been there. And if you look at my track record with them, I haven't fought any chumps. A lot of these pros that are, same record as me, like 6-2 or, 7-1, 8-0 around there. Most of their fights are, guys 500 or losing records. Everyone I fought's they're tough fights. So I pride myself on that, and I couldn't fight for anyone else. They're such a great group of guys in promotion.
Yeah, you mentioned your hard road. I mean, if you do look at your fights, they're all very experienced guys, and the 2 losses you do have are very, very experienced. They both went by way of decision. It's not like you've been finished or anything like that. But what lessons did you learn from, I guess, the most recent loss that you're going to apply to your next fights?
Yeah, my last loss was to Jaleel Willis, and he just had a super good game plan. Every fight we watched on him, he was standing and banging with guys. So that's what we prepared for, was just to stand up and, throw hands. But he did his homework, I guess, and he took me down and could hold me down. So he won a smart fight and beat me fair and square. And hats off to him with that. But that also, I'm glad it happened because that also showed me what I had to work on to get better and to win fights like that. So now I'm super focused on, staying on my feet and not getting to the ground. And when I do, getting to my feet in a hurry. So I'm not wasting half a round or most of the round trying to get up or fighting for a position.
It's funny because when I talk to a lot of fighters, a lot of them are very much like, just didn't go my way. So it's really nice to see that it's like, yeah, you came in with a good game plan. How much do you think a victory and a loss really comes down to the game plan you have going into the fight?
It's just such a perfect storm for everything to happen for a fight to, go your way sometimes. because you could game plan for a guy like I did. I game plan for that whole fight and get hit with something completely different. And sometimes you got to have a great game plan to beat someone and execute it, but also sometimes you got to make a plan on the fly and improvise and just fight. Some people get so wrapped up, and I've done it, and my last fight was the same way. I tried sticking the game plan so much I didn't change and just fight. I got the skill. I have the skill. It's just sometimes you got to let the dog out and just scrap with someone.
Yeah, I think the best example when it comes to that, it really is John Jones. Like his ability to, he'll go in and he's like, all right, you're gonna win the first 2 rounds. I'm gonna feel you out, and then I'm gonna come back and win the last 3. And it's so weird to see. I find a lot of fighters are, if they lose the first round, they kind of get overwhelmed. It's just interesting to see how even though he's had so many fights, the pressure doesn't get to him. And I think that comes along with time, I guess. And there's, no shame in early losses in your career. You look at guys like John Jones, who had that early loss. George St. Pierre lost early in his carear, and they still went on to rack off these long winning streaks. So what do you think it'll take for you to really kind of, do you think it's 1, 2, 3 wins away? How far away do you think you are from a call to a UFC or a Bellator? And is that the ultimate dream?
Definitely. I definitely want to fight in the UFC. That's the apex of the sport. That's like my coach always says, do you want to play in the NFL or you want to play college football? So that's where our sights are set, is the UFC. And I don't want anything else unless, I'm too old and I can't make it, But I think I'm probably 2 fights away, I would assume. Maybe 3 or 4. It just depends. I'm not in such a rush right now. I'm just really trying to get better and focus on just getting in the fight and pushing the pace for 3 to 5 rounds, if that's what I get the opportunity to fight for the title. But I think it's going to come down to like a short notice call. I'm thinking hopefully it could come soon too. You never know with what's going on right now in the world with all this, if fighters even been training and if their gyms are open, depends on what state you're in. So I'm in fight shape still. I'm ready to go right now. But if I could see it going a certain way, I think it would be probably 2 more fights.
You see guys like Max Roshkopf. I think he's a great example. He was only 5-0 when he got the call. So, there's really opportunities now, especially if you're in fight shape. Obviously, his didn't go his way, but guys like Justin James getting calls. So I think as long as fighters are staying active, now there's really opportunities that you might not get again. UFC's in dire need. A lot of fighters aren't willing to fight. They need guys to travel. Guys are testing positive for COVID. As a fighter, what's it kind of like? What sort of things do you think of accepting a fight? Especially with around COVID. Are you worried, or are these what sorts of pros and cons do you balance before taking a fight?
I think, if I was to get a short notice fight for the UFC, I don't care who it is. That's my foot in the door. I'm going to fight anybody. I'm going to give it hell. I'm going to go in, try to make a great game plan to win the fight, execute it, and most of all, just let them know that they made a good choice on signing me and show them that I have the potential to stay there. Not just get there, I want to stay there for a long time. And the COVID, as far as all that, I ain't too worried about that. I don't believe in it as much as what they're, putting out there. I think it's all a little political scam, but I'll leave that all out of. It's a good argument for people I don't really want to deal with.
I feel that, man. I think it is. I agree with you. I believe it's a thing, but I think I think it's a little bit blown out of proportion.
Yes.
I'm kind of in the same boat. But yeah, same sort of thing. Let's keep politics on the other side. I don't want to be attacked. I get you 100%, man. The world's very divided right now.
Yep, it is.
Man, I 100% agree with you. The little platform I do have with regards to MMA, I built it based on making predictions on fights as well as making matchups. If there's a fighter in the UFC right now, I think that like as a dream would be a dream matchup for you? Maybe not now, but like somewhere down the line. Is there a fighter where you're like, man, one day I'd love to test my skills against someone like that?
Yeah, there's two guys that one that I would just love to get in there and fight just because I think he's the best 55 on the planet right now is Charles Oliveira.
Yeah.
He is. I think he's going to be the world champ here in the next year or two. And yeah, that would be definitely the fight I would love to have in the future. And someone that I'd really like to beat up, and just because I don't like is in the 55 division would probably have to be a guy. Let me think of his name. I can't even think of his name right now, but it'll come to me. But I don't have too much animosity. I just think some people are punks and, fake in there. And we're really not like that here. We're just hardworking Midwestern people and just trying to make a living and trying to do something cool with it like this. So
When you think about, I mean, the guys that have really kind of emerged the past few years, like guys like Colby Covington, Mike Perry, Conor McGregor, a lot of their attention. I mean, and Dylan Dennis is another great example. Like, they may not have the resume to really have the name that they have, with the exception of maybe a Conor, but guys like Dennis, for example, it comes with negative attention, But they're building up these platforms with negativity. As someone who's kind of like up on the upswing, trying to make a name for yourself, how do you kind of stay away from that and be like, look, I know that's the attention, it's drawing attention, but that's not who I am. How do you kind of stay like that and kind of stay humble, even though it seems to be what's selling right now?
It's just not me. I can't be like that. I mean, some people can fake it. I can't. So I got kids at home, I don't want my kids to look on TV and, then they're going to start acting like that, they're going to start acting however their parents are acting. And I don't want my kids running around acting like a Colby or a Connor, just especially where we're from, it just makes you look like an idiot.
All right, I'll give you one last question here. I love making predictions. I'm always wrong, always, every time. But man, we've got a big fight coming up. It's the biggest trilogy, possibly the biggest trilogy of all time, in Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic. What's your prediction for that fight? I've been going back and forth. I'm like, man, if Stipe catches him, DC catches him, what's your thoughts?
I think if DC comes in with a good cardio and good confidence after the last fight, getting knocked out, and just stays in his face like he was striking, I think he could win. I don't think he'll finish him. I think he'll win a 5-round fight. But same with Stipe. If Stipe comes in and doesn't respect him too much, because I think that was his downfall last fight. He kind of respected Cormier from getting knocked out the fight before. If Stipe goes in and really pressures him, I think Stipe can finish him. I don't see DC finishing him, but I can see Stipe finishing Cormier again.
And last question, we'll make it non-MMA related, and then I'll let you go. What sorts of things do you do out there in your free time? Like throughout the pandemic, like what sorts of things were you doing? Any video games, any TV shows, fishing? What sort of things do you do to occupy your mind?
Oh, I turkey hunted the whole time. That's my thing, man. I'm addicted to it, and if I could do that as a job, I would do that over fighting anything. I love turkey hunting.
All right, man. All the best. Looking forward to your next fight. Hopefully you get matched up here soon rather than later.
Yeah, that's the game plan, and if I do, I'll keep you guys posted. And just thanks for letting me get on here. It's good to get my name out there, and it's always a pleasure to talk to people that are, like-minded and have the same ideas. So.
All right, man. I appreciate it. All the best. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Don't catch anything. If it exists, don't catch it. And all the best.
Yep, you too, brother.